Today's episode of the Bitcoin Show is brought to you by Mt. Gox, mtgox.com, and Bitcoin Bonus, bitcoinbonus.com, and Meze Grill, M-E-Z-E grill.com. Hello everybody and welcome to the Bitcoin Show. This is episode 46 and today we're just going to do a really fun little interview because with someone who's arguably one of the most famous people in Bitcoin, although you may have never seen his face before. He's the guy behind, well first of all, let me ask you this. If you Google Bitcoin, what comes up? Probably, if you put it into Google search terms engine, it will recommend Alpaca. And you're going to wonder, what the heck does Bitcoin have to do with Alpaca if you're new to Bitcoin? But anybody who's an old-time Bitcoin person knows that everything to do with Bitcoin is Alpaca socks. We've got the weusecoins.com is probably the most recent thing that features an alpaca. And, but actually many of the early stories were about what you can buy with a Bitcoin, and or more than one Bitcoin maybe, and always what comes up is alpaca socks, and people are like, what? What does alpaca socks have to do with it? What it has to do with it is our guest today, the man behind GrasshillAlpacas.com, David Forster. Welcome, David. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you are, where are you based? Out west somewhere, I take it.
Well, no, actually, western Massachusetts is where the farm is located. And we have 19 alpacas currently here. It's a small family farm. I'm involved with the farm and also the Bitcoin part of it as sort of a sideshow to that efforts, although it's, I mean, we've gotten more publicity for the Bitcoin part of it than we ever did with our farm, the farm itself. So it's been quite a wild ride we've had here.
So when people ask which came first, the alpaca or the Bitcoin, it was clearly the alpaca.
It did. I think it beat the Bitcoin by a couple years. But
a couple years. Yeah. So like what, 2007 or something like that? We
started the farm in beginning of 2005.
Okay.
We started getting ready to bring the first animals on the farm. The farm's been in the family for 5 generations, but it hadn't been used for very much in terms of active farming for 30 years. So we put it back into production, yeah, 6 years ago now, and started off with alpacas, and been growing ever since. So. And
every great family farm has a geek in it, a tech geek, and you're the guy.
I'm the guy. Yeah.
And how did you discover? I mean, so many questions. How did you discover Bitcoin?
Well, that's kind of lost to the annals of history at this point, but I don't really remember, to be honest.
Wow.
But I do know that I'm pretty sure I have an idea how I found it, and I'm pretty sure that was I read a book called A Lodging of Wayfaring Men, and it was awesome. And I did a Google search to try to find some of these sort of anonymous digital currencies. I thought it was a cool concept. Yeah, I have as well as being a bit of a tech geek, I'm also an economics nerd, self-taught. But so the idea really intrigued me. So I started Googling for, anonymous digital currencies, and Bitcoins popped up. And at the time, I mean, it was almost nothing. It was like nobody had heard of it. Now, at that point, for probably 6 months or so, until finally I kind of revisited it, and a couple economic news stories around the world kind of convinced me to start actually looking at alternative payment methods a little more seriously. So I started doing research on Bitcoins, and I thought to myself, how am I going to get one of these? Because frankly, I didn't trust anyone. Like if I figured I sent an envelope full of cash to buy Bitcoins, all I would lose is an envelope full of cash, and I wouldn't get anything. So I've decided to start figuring out a way to get Bitcoins in a different way. So I started thinking about what I could sell, and alpaca socks came to mind since we were already selling them. And I whipped the site up in it took almost no time to put the site up. I listed my site on a couple of the web forums, and pretty much the rest is history after that. It just kind of blew up without me really doing much work in terms of marketing. It was, and it's been pretty cool. And I got my Bitcoins, which was the original reason I started. So.
Because you were able to, that is one of the easiest way to get your hands on some Bitcoins, is to sell something that you're already selling for Bitcoins, right? So in the early days, okay, when you first start, and that's the Bitcoin side. Now back to the alpaca side. The farm's been going on in the family since 2005 or roughly, or 4 or 5. And then now, did your family get into alpacas like to breed them and sell them, or did they start out with manufacturing these knitted things like socks?
Well, we started off in just breeding alpacas and showing them. We show alpacas at all the alpaca shows. So when I say award-winning alpacas, that's what I mean. We go to alpaca shows and we win ribbons with them, and then we sell the breeding stock to people who want to get in the industry and grow a herd for either fiber production or as breeding stock to increase the qualities of the herds. And when we started, it was really about that. We started selling socks really just to try to pay the bills. Basically just trying to break even in terms of out-of-pocket expenses year to year in terms of feed costs and things like that. Alpacas are very low maintenance, which was part of why we decided to go with alpacas. I wrote the business plan for the alpaca farm when my father told me, I have all this land, it's not being used, figure out a way that I might possibly someday make a little money, but some way of actually taking care of this land and improving it, and something that we can do as a family. So I wrote the business plan. It was between Highland cattle and alpacas, and frankly, there's a higher profit margin in alpacas, or there was at the time. I think there probably still is. And they're a smaller animal, so less daunting to try to manage than a 1,500-pound cow. Yeah. So we went with alpacas and made our first purchase in I think it was the end of 2004, and got the farm ready and took possession of them in 2005, and been growing organically since then. Just breeding for our own herd improvement. So. Okay.
Now, when you say organically, you mean naturally? Are they not organically in the other sense?
I mean organically as in
naturally
on farm expansion, as opposed to going out and buying a whole bunch of animals. We have bought a few, but mainly it's just we breed them. They have babies. Our herd gets bigger. We sell some, etc. Although that said, we're not certified organic, but we do. It is as close to that as we can get without putting the animals' health at risk. So we minimize their exposure to nasty things, and we do our best to improve the soil quality so that we have the best possible animals as a result of that.
So it will be healthy to eat the alpaca fiber. No, maybe not.
Yes, if you could actually digest the fiber, yeah. And if you could afford to eat the animals, then the animals would be quite healthy too. But at this point, they are a little pricey.
Does anybody eat alpaca meat?
Oh yes,
really?
Down in South America, it's quite popular. In Peru, they have 3 million alpacas, and so when an alpaca gets too old, can't have babies anymore, or if they have a baby they don't need for fiber for whatever reason, they do eat them down there, as well as llamas, which is a relative of the alpaca. I've never eaten alpaca. When I went to Argentina last year, I did eat llama. I've heard it's very similar to alpaca, and it's very similar to goat. It's quite close to goat. So.
Wow. So how does the price of the meat compare to other meats down there? I guess it must be.
Down there, it's a little bit more expensive than goat, but it's not any. It's
not out of reason.
Yeah,
beyond reason.
It's not crazy. Although you don't necessarily find it a lot either. It's not necessarily extremely common, at least in Argentina, maybe in Peru, but
it's just when they have excess alpacas for some reason. Okay, so now, when did you guys get into manufacturing socks? And are there any other products that you guys make with the fiber?
So we actually work with a fiber cooperative based in the Northeast, and we pool our fiber together with a bunch of different alpaca breeders, most of them in the Northeast and all of them in the United States, so it's all U.S. based, and it's actually made at mills in the Northeast. We don't actually have a mill on site here. We just work closely with some of the very small, like cottage industry scale mills that are making these socks for us in the area. I use the term loosely, but it's all, relatively speaking, regional, and it's certainly all in the United States.
Okay. So you actually, then you take your alpacas and you actually shear the fiber and send it off to them, and then other farmers do too? Yes,
we shear once a year, and preferably right around May, before it gets too hot. And you take that fiber, you get between 6 and 8 pounds on average per animal, and you send that off to, we pool it with other growers. For one thing, we're a small operation, so if we had to come up with all the right colors of alpacas to blend together to get the different color products, we would really struggle to do that. We don't have all the color animals, for instance. There are 22 different identified alpaca colors. They're really, to most people, you wouldn't necessarily think that there's 22 of them because it's like dark gray, medium gray, rose gray. There's, in terms of the browns, there's beige, fawn, light brown, medium brown, dark brown, and then you get into the blacks too. So there's 22 separate colors. We don't have that many.
They're basically all gray, black, or brown, right?
What was that?
And they're all basically gray, black, or brown in some variation.
Or white. White's the most common, actually.
Yeah, you know this rug we have right here. I don't know if you ever noticed our rug. It looks like snowfall or something. But it's actually alpaca.
Is it really?
Yes, it's so soft. I don't think I've ever touched an alpaca, except, I don't know, maybe in a petting zoo at some point in my life. But it's so, I've never felt any fur more soft. It's amazing.
Yeah, and it's softer, stronger, lighter, and warmer than wool. It keeps you warm when wet, unlike cotton, but it doesn't make you itch like wool because it doesn't have, I believe it's lanolin is one of the major component of that itchiness of wool. So alpaca fiber is not actually wool, even though a lot of people call it wool. It's just a fiber. It doesn't have a name, as far as I know. No one's coined a phrase for alpaca fiber yet. But yeah, and it's incredibly soft, which is what makes the socks and the other products we make. Currently, it's all we're selling for Bitcoins is the socks. We do have a local shop that we set up right around Thanksgiving time that we sell some other products, but it's been enough just to try to keep up with the sock sales. So I haven't expanded that yet, but yeah, the fiber is fantastic stuff, and the industry is growing in the United States. It's also used in and this is one of the markets that's really been developing now, is high-end luxury fabrics. A lot of really high-end suits will be made out of alpaca, or are made out of alpaca.
Wow.
So there's a lot of potential there. It's really cool.
It would have to be high-end luxury because it's not cheap. So how, like the socks are because they're the woven fiber. Are they as soft as the actual fur? If, like I'm touching this actual fur here, is it similar? I've never actually had my hands on a pair of socks yet. I'm gonna have to order some.
Oh, okay, yeah. So the socks that we're selling are, I believe they're 78% pure alpaca. And the other parts nylon and lycra to give them to make them more stretchable and help them to wear better. But they're very soft. They actually get softer every time you wash them through, and you can wash them just in standard washing machine, dry them on either low heat or air dry, whatever, and they actually get softer every time you wear them. So, or every time you wash them. So.
And what's the texture? Are they thin like a dress sock, or are they thicker like a athletic sock?
They are thicker. there's a well-known brand of wool socks that I would compare them to,
Okay.
and
Okay.
so they're a thicker sock. They're good for like a hiking sock. Although at the same time, they're not overly heavy and warm. So I consider them a 3-season sock. I don't wear them in the summer too much, but fall,
Okay.
winter, and spring, they're very nice.
Nice.
We have been toying with the idea of introducing some other socks, including a casual dress sock, which would be a much thinner sock. We haven't done it yet, but we're probably going to shortly. So-
And you can order these colors. I mean, can you literally choose from 22 colors, or is it like?
So, no, unfortunately you can't. There are just 4 colors that we have available in terms of the socks, and that's mainly because not every color is all that abundant in sort of the genetics of the animals. So, and the socks are made with a blend of the different colors to try to get consistency. If we tried to go with a certain color from a certain type of alpaca all the time, it'd be very difficult to get consistency across lots. So that's why they're blended as they are. And actually, as it is, we're having trouble getting the darker socks. The black alpacas there are considerably fewer of them than, say, the white and even the lighter browns. And that's just a genetic different. Basically, the lighter colors are dominant genetically. So you have less and less, fewer of the black animals, or the darker animals compared to the lighter animals. So we're actually having a lot of trouble getting enough black fiber to make the black socks and the gray socks. So we've been sold out for a while. I don't know yet whether they'll be in stock anytime soon, and it's just because of the demand for those is really high and supply is relatively fixed. So,
and they don't do any dyeing of the fiber at all.
We don't, and the co-op that we work with doesn't dye the socks. There are companies that sell alpaca socks that are dyed, so you can get literally any color of the rainbow.
Purple if you wanted,
or alpaca fiber, but we do all natural colors.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. I want to find out more about how much they cost and all those sorts of things. But let me take a break really quick and thank our sponsors, because obviously without them we wouldn't be here. And they are Mt. Gox. Obviously, everyone in the Bitcoin community pretty much knows Mt. Gox. It's mtgox.com. Mt. Gox is the way, the de facto way. They have something like 90% or approximately market share of buying Bitcoins online. You can buy and sell Bitcoins for currency. US dollars and like 16 new currencies they just added. So you can literally deposit money into Mt. Gox in any one of these currencies, and then buy Bitcoins with them. And you can, you can actually deposit funds in many of these different currencies, and you'll have an actual separate balance for each currency, whatever currency it is that you deal with. So it makes it super, super convenient and easy. No matter where you are in the world, there's a currency that matches your local area or one that's convenient for you. And they have two-factor authentication, which makes it super secure. Even if you're using a computer that's full of viruses and you don't even know it, it's still safe because your wallet file is actually not on your computer. Your Bitcoins and your funds are on Mt. Gox. So it's safe from local viruses. And with the two-factor authentication is a little tiny USB key. It's really, really tiny. It's like one of those little dongles. You keep it on I keep it on my keychain, like the drugstore little barcode thing that you get a discount when you shop at the grocery store or whatever. It's tinier than that. And you stick it in the USB slot, and it puts in a password, and that password is only good for 1 second. So even if you have a virus on your computer that grabs passwords, it's useless because it's only good for 1 second. So you can literally use a public kiosk, terminal, cyber cafe, the internet at the lobby of the hotel or something, and log onto your account and feel secure because nobody can grab that. I mean, if they could grab the password, but it's useless if they don't have that USB key. It's called a YubiKey, so they offer that as well. As well as so many new things. Mt. Gox Mt. Gox Mobile is their new app for Android and for jailbroken iPhones. That's absolutely brilliant. You can transfer funds with a barcode. You can create an invoice if you're a merchant. It's basically a point-of-sale device in your hand on any Android tablet or phone or even iPhone that's jailbroken. So that's called Mt. Gox Mobile. Check that out in the Android App Store. And also, you can go to mountgoxlive.com for more information about that. And we thank Mt. Gox. Be sure and send them a message and thank them for sponsoring the Bitcoin Show and Only One TV. And Bitcoin Bonus. BitcoinBonus.com is an amazing service. It's much more exciting than it sounds at first because I had been turned on to it way before I knew who was behind it, or they decided to become a sponsor, because people were saying that you can, anything that you're buying online anyway, you can actually go to BitcoinBonus.com, search for that merchant, and click a link and get a referral link to that, whether it's buy.com or any of the major retailers. One particular person I heard from was a website designer, and he buys hosting accounts in the name of his clients like several times a week. And so he goes and grabs that link every single time, and he gets, the idea behind it is you get a kickback in Bitcoins. So every time you shop online, you get a kickback in Bitcoins. So it's brilliant. Is Alpaca socks on Bitcoin Bonus? You need to be.
It is, actually.
It is. There you go. So yeah, there you go. See, that's what I'm saying. Like you'd be surprised what's on there. So you just go to bitcoinbonus.com and search for Alpaca, and you'll find it. So when you go to buy your Alpaca socks, you can pay in Bitcoins, and then you get a kickback in Bitcoins. So it's a brilliant thing. It's just money you wouldn't have had otherwise in the form of Bitcoins. So check out bitcoinbonus.com, and we thank them for sponsoring us. And Mezzi Grill, everybody knows, the world's first restaurant that accepts Bitcoin and also sells Bitcoin right there. They're open 7 days a week for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and they're right here in Midtown Manhattan, just 3 blocks south of Columbus Circle. Columbus Circle is a very famous tourist spot. Many films have been shot there. It's the entrance to Central Park, and it's 57th Street and 8th Avenue, and Mezzi Grill is just 3 really short blocks south of that, right on, it's on 8th Avenue, right? 8th Avenue at 55. 8th Avenue and 55 on your left. So check it out. Go to Mezzi Grill, and you can check out their menu and pictures of the place at mezegrill.com, mezzigrill.com. And not only that, now they have franchise opportunities available, so you can own your own Mezzi Grill in your own town. Check it out. It's like it's kind of like a Chipotle style, but a little bit more upscale, and it's Mediterranean food, so it's very, very healthy. But contact them at bitcoin@mezzigrill.com or just go to their website, mezzigrill.com, and thank them for sponsoring the Bitcoin Show as well. So we're back with David Forster of GrassHillAlpacas.com. So it's Grass Hill, Grass Hill, Alpacas, ALPACAS.com, right? That's how they find these products?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
And there's a link on that main page to the Bitcoin sales Alpaca socks or Bitcoins page.
So how much does a pair of socks cost? Are they all the same price? Are there different styles for different prices?
They are. They're all the same price right now for everything that's listed on that page. It's part of the reason why I haven't offered any other types of socks. We could also do hats. It's just to try to keep it simple, but we will most likely be launching some new products in the near future. And so right now the price is $385.
It's changing as you speak, right?
It's the site is static. The price is static, but I change it as the Bitcoin market fluctuates. Yeah. So today it's $385, and usually the price I list is a little higher than my actual price, and that is because I like to not raise the price when people contact me. I like to, in fact, give them a slightly better price. So when people contact me, I go to the market, find out what the Bitcoin rate is, and calculate the price at that time. So most of the time, people get a better price than what's listed.
Always better to under-promise and over-deliver.
Yeah, exactly. That's the idea. So
don't disappoint.
That's the way I do it. I haven't linked it in any way automatically, made it a dynamic price because just because I haven't taken the time to develop all the back end that would be necessary to do that and protect me from currency fluctuations in the exchange rate for Bitcoin. So this is the way I handle it right now.
How often do you update the price? Every day?
It depends on how fast the the exchange rate moves. I think I've had 385 for several days now, and even though the Bitcoin rate's been fluctuating considerably, I've left it alone. I try not to change it so much that that every time someone looks at the site is different. I try to keep it a little bit more consistent as much as I can.
That's about the best you can do if you're doing it manually. And then when they actually place the order, you will adjust the rate as of that moment that they're taking the order?
So I do it through email. It's not automated. People send me an email, and I respond with an address and tell them what the price is at that time. And within reason, even if it takes people a few days, I honor that price I told them originally. At this point, I lock in my cost. Unfortunately, our suppliers don't take Bitcoins yet. I'm working on them, but they're not there yet. So when I do make a sale, I lock in my my cost at that time when I make the sale and turn it over into another form of currency that my suppliers will take, and and the remainder I keep on. And it depends, but the remainder I keep at least for the time being. So
keeping Bitcoin. Okay, that's cool. So let's see. And so are there various styles and sizes, I'm assuming?
So right now it's just one style, but we do have different sizes. I can hold a couple of them up.
Sure.
We've got this is the gray and the dark brown. I hope you can see that.
Yeah.
We also have this is the fawn or the light brown right here. It's kind of tough to tell probably with the lighting, which is a perennial problem I have. My pictures don't do it justice, but and then the always in demand black or dark gray. This is like the only one I have left. It's a kid's size, and don't know when I'll be able to get more of these, but there it is. So for everyone who's been asking about them.
So they're all the same price, even regardless of the color?
Correct.
I've
been toying with the idea that if I ever get any black ones in stock, I'll double the price of them because
supply and demand. Hey,
supply and demand. It's hard to keep them in stock. So but I haven't done that. So we'll see if I actually do. But
and then they come in and like are there a variety of adult sizes or?
Yes, there's the so-called just the women's, which is the medium, and that's a sock size 7 to 10, and then the men's is called the large, and it's a sock size 10 to 13. We also have extra large, which is 13 to 16, and then the kids sizes is 4 to 6, and those are sock sizes. So when you're trying to figure out what size you are, you can Google if you Google sock size to shoe size conversion, most people don't tend to know their sock size. So I end up converting it for most people, but some people know. But I wear the size men's large, which is a 10 to 13. I'm a size 9.5 shoe, so that gives you a little bit of an idea on how that works.
Okay. It never seems fair that like a kid's sock should cost the same as a size 13. A guy who
it's true. It's true. They use a little less fiber, but the manufacturing process is probably the same and
equal,
so,
if not more so, because it's smaller.
Right. Right. A little bit more tricky, but
true. Cool. And now, do you ship them directly from do you ship them yourself, or is it coming from the co-op?
I ship them myself.
Okay.
So we have them here. We keep a stock here, and when I get an order, I'll ship it out. Usually within 24 hours, I'll get it out in the mail. The prices include shipping, domestic shipping. International, I add more, but I don't gouge people on international shipping. It's what my cost is. So
cool.
And it's very reasonable since socks are light. So
yeah,
it's only a couple bucks to ship to, or a couple big, you know, what, like half of a Bitcoin to ship to Canada right now, I'd say, and maybe a little less than a Bitcoin to ship to most of Europe. So it's very reasonable.
So you guys out there, you can actually support a local farm, family farm, and a Bitcoin. One of the first Bitcoin early adopters and merchants, GrassHillAlpacas.com. So it's GRASS Hill, HILL, Alpacas is ALPACAS.com. How have you? Obviously you've received a lot of free advertising, right? Because alpacas and Bitcoins kind of have gone hand in hand since the beginning, just because of you guys accepting it. And have you been contacted by media and done other interviews and things? Yeah.
Yeah. So things started to get really nutty when I think it was either February or March. We got slashdotted, and in that one 24-hour period, we had more hits to our website than we had for the entire history of our farm to that point.
Isn't that crazy when that happens?
What was that?
That's crazy when that happens, right? What that means is getting mentioned on Slashdot. So when you get mentioned on Slashdot, it's just huge. You just get tons and tons of hits. Did it bring your server down?
And they had linked right to our site. It was fantastic. The best free marketing you can hope for. Really.
When did that happen?
When was that? It was, I think, it was February or March, somewhere in that time frame. I don't remember the date, but
early on, yeah.
Yeah, it was early on, and it was pretty wild. And sales were pretty good for a couple weeks afterwards.
That's back when Satoshi was still active in the community. Did you ever have any correspondence with him?
Someone by that name has sent me a couple messages through our Facebook page, but other than that, nothing.
That's probably not him. But yeah, if it was from Satoshi on the forum, that's actually him. But we would assume. But Facebook, no, everybody's taking on that name now.
I figured it probably wasn't actually Satoshi.
Exactly.
But, you never know. So and we have been interviewed for some mainstream media publications. So I was interviewed for Smart Money, an article in Smart Money.
Yeah.
That was carried on the Yahoo Finance homepage for an entire weekend.
Wow.
I had family and friends from around the country calling and emailing me, asking, say, is that Dave?
Is that you?
Is that really you? That was pretty cool.
I know, it's crazy, right?
Yeah, it really is. And then the New York Daily newspaper also wrote an article about Bitcoins and featured us in that article as well. And a couple other. I was interviewed for NPR. Nothing that made it on the air, but it was in one of their online articles. So just very cool. And stuff that we would never, as a small farm, ever be able to afford to buy that kind of publicity.
Right.
And here it's coming to us for nothing. And also, I guess there's some conferences in Europe. I got contact from someone saying that he wanted to buy 2 pairs of alpaca socks to bring with him to this conference in Spain, and he was going to give one of the pairs of socks away as like a door prize for his conference talk. So just really cool stuff. And then we've been able to sell because of this internationally, where before, most of our sales were to people who lived within 5 miles of our farm. Now I've sold to people in Russia, Norway, Finland, the UK, Czech Republic, France, Canada, and Australia, and several other countries, and all across the United States. So it's really been great for us as a small business.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the internet, and which is a global network and a global currency of Bitcoin. Makes it so easy. You don't have to worry about currency conversion or anything like that. Speaking of conferences, we missed you at the first Bitcoin conference and World Expo last month in New York.
I was incommunicado up in upstate Maine at the time. I had a long-standing trip plan there, so I didn't make it. But hopefully you do that again.
Yeah, the next time for sure. We have to have an Alpaca socks table. I mean,
Yes.
What is Bitcoin without that? That's great. So are you thinking about expanding into other products? You were talking about hats and jackets
So we sell at our farm stand, which we open up right around Thanksgiving for holiday sales, which we sell to just a bunch of the people in the area, really. We do have other products that are available: scarves, hats, some other types of socks that we sell. Surrounded by some of the products here, but we will almost certainly be doing that. It's just a matter of time for me. I've got quite a few irons in the fire right now, so it's been difficult to get that squared away. For one thing, the management of everything gets a little bit more hectic as there's more products, of course, which of course is easy to get over that hurdle, but just haven't done it yet. Another thing that we're going to do, and I'll announce it here on the show for the first time, we're actually going to be offering to sell an alpaca for Bitcoins, which would be another first, I'm pretty sure. Livestock for Bitcoins. And working on a web page just to have the basic information, but we'll give a 10% discount for Bitcoin sales through November 1st. For anyone who's been thinking about buying an alpaca and has a bunch of Bitcoins burning a hole in their electronic wallet, we'll sell them an alpaca. So
it's probably more secure in some ways because it would be more difficult to steal someone's alpaca than their Bitcoin. Well, it depends. It depends on where you keep it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy to steal an alpaca.
They're
kind of hard to pick up and carry out.
Do they bite?
They don't bite, but they do spit.
They'll spit at you.
But they don't do it unless you really make them mad. But
peeve them. Oh my gosh.
I suspect trying to carry one off would make them mad enough.
Yeah. Pretty typical if they don't know you. Do they? Do you? I mean, do they recognize you? Do they know you? Are they like pets?
Some of them. So they're a herd animal. They're a prey animal and a herd animal. They have pretty much no natural defenses other than being in a herd. So what that means is that they're pretty flighty, but they have gotten to know us, and we have some of the animals that are so friendly they'll come up to anyone and give them a kiss.
Wow.
That's what we call it. They come right up to your face and will put their nose right up to you and smell your nose.
Wow.
We call it, giving kisses. It's not normal alpaca behavior. In Peru, you would never see that.
Wow.
And we have some animals that are much more standard alpaca dispositions. They're not mean, but they're afraid of you, generally speaking. So, and it also depends on whether it's a pregnant mother or a mother with a small baby. They're a little bit more ornery, but
True. And so, I mean, you're not using them for meat or anything like that. So it's only for their fur, their fiber. So and you say that you only shear them once a year. So basically, you care for them the whole entire year for yielding the fur once a year?
Correct.
Wow.
And the nice thing is the alpaca fiber is valuable enough that you can make a profit on the alpaca fiber sales, especially if you go into the lower end animals and you start small. You can buy an inexpensive animal, breed it, have babies, shear the animals and sell the fiber. You can make money. When you buy the higher end animals, what you're really doing there is trying to sell the top end breeding stock and win awards, just like with other livestock.
Wow.
So that's how it works. And then the other thing that makes it work is that they are extremely maintenance-free, carefree. Our veterinary bills are almost zero. Our feed bills are very low. we spend the time to really improve our soil and our pastures so that we don't have to feed them expensive supplements and everything else. And then probably the biggest expense is hay, actually, and that's pretty reasonable too. They don't eat a lot. They're not big animals.
That's what I was going to ask you. Do they eat a lot? Yeah, but
they weigh between 150 to 175 for a full-grown animal. Some of the larger males might get up to 200 pounds or so, but they're not a huge animal. And they really don't eat that much, and they're very content to eat nothing but grass, as long as it's high enough quality pasture. They don't really need grain at all. We do supplement the females, especially the pregnant females, with supplement a small amount of grain, especially in the winter months, to get them the extra calories they need and some of the minerals that might be lacking in the hay. But very, very carefree animals. So.
Wow. So they eat grass and hay. So like cattle eat grass and horses eat hay, right? So they kind of eat both.
Yeah, more or less. Those rules.
This is how much I know about farming and livestock.
Yeah, those rules are they're generalizations, but for instance, although in Peru alpacas are much smaller, and they don't really eat grass or hay, they eat scrubby dead brush in the high Andes mountains. Wow. If you actually look at pictures of where they're actually from, you'd be amazed that anything can survive there at all. So what we give them here with nice green grass is actually orders of magnitude better than what they would have had in their native habitat, which is very interesting. And as a result of that, actually the quality of the fiber and the amount of fiber an alpaca produces in the United States is in some cases an order of magnitude better / more than what they produce in Peru. So it's very interesting how that works.
They're spoiled. Of course, typical American alpacas that are spoiled. And yeah, I mean, if you're going to be an animal, I would much rather be one that is raised for my fur than my meat. That's they live a lush life, and they do get a haircut once a year.
Exactly.
It's
nice. A good life.
That's nice. Do you have anything else on your farm? Do you grow anything else, or have other livestock there too?
Yeah, we have a few goats that help us to keep the brush cleared. They're amazing brush clearing machines. Just a standard issue sort of multi-species farm. We have some chickens running around, some guineas running around eating the ticks, and then this summer I had a big a large garden we were selling produce from. Didn't make any sales for Bitcoins. I tried, but not a lot of local people that are coming by a farm stand with Bitcoins in their pocket. But I got out the word a little bit more, which is also important, of course.
Yeah,
so.
Anything you can sell online, obviously you can do with Bitcoin. There are these organic dairies, like Ed buys, there's this place called Utter Milk that he buys raw milk and all kinds of dairy products, and it's like a co-op because that's the only way they can do it legally, apparently. I mean, it's like illegal to eat natural food.
It's
so bizarre.
Bogus.
Yeah, so bogus. But if you're a member of a co-op, somehow there's some loophole in that way, and then you're a member of this organization, and then they actually deliver. They come with a truck and they deliver once a week in Manhattan. So we get raw milk and cheese and eggs and on, like everything, heavy cream, all sorts of stuff. Right from the farm, right from the cow, and
that's excellent.
Weekly, yeah, really nice.
Unfortunately, in Massachusetts, it's even more silly. You're actually not allowed to sell raw milk in Massachusetts except right directly off the farm. So that kind of an operation can't actually exist under current Massachusetts law, which is totally ridiculous, of course.
It is.
Connecticut is better, though. You can actually buy raw milk in the grocery stores, so they're a little bit ahead of the game in terms of allowing people to eat what they want.
I think it's Connecticut. That's where the farm is that we get that from. Utter Milk. I'm not sure what state that's. Oh, it's New Jersey. Okay, Utter Milk. It's UDDER, like a cow's udder. Uttermilk.com, is the one that, and we can order online. Cool. It's like crazy. I guess it's in New Jersey, but every state is a little bit different. Yeah, I mean, how long is it going to be before it's illegal to breathe air unless it's bottled by Dannon? I mean, it's really, really scary, these monopolies.
Well, I mean, you can't breathe in air because then you breathe out CO2, and
that's a crime.
Wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Unless it's been pasteurized and sanitized by corporatology and profit. So, well, thanks so much for joining us. Is there anything you want to tell the world about alpaca socks and selling alpaca socks for Bitcoin, or any thought you'd like to leave the public with?
No, I can't think of anything that I haven't already mentioned, but just ask people to check out the website, and there'll be more stuff coming out from us, and anyone who has a business that's thinking about getting into Bitcoin sales, I highly recommend it. Small business, this is a great way to do it. There's a learning curve to it. There's some things you got to take into consideration that you might not normally think about, like exchange rate risk, but it's all manageable. Yeah. And if I can do it, anyone can do it.
Have you had any problems with chargebacks or identity theft or
none that I know of?
Transaction fees.
No one's ever come back to me with any problems. I've been using TradeHill to do my exchanging, and I've been happy with them. Before I got too big, and before I got too many Bitcoins, if you will, I was actually using the Bitcoins to buy other products, and that's all I was doing. Now I still do that, but I also do have to turn some into U.S. dollars to pay suppliers. But it'd be really great if someone would open up a fertilizer company or something that accepted Bitcoins. But I'm working on that. It's one of my many projects. But
so if you have a fertilizer company out there,
what was that?
I'm telling the audience, if you have a fertilizer company out there, set it up to accept Bitcoins. Just go to bitcoinme.com and then click on accept, and there's simple Fisher-Price instructions on how to accept Bitcoins. It just takes 2 seconds. It's so easy. And you got a customer right here in grasshillalpacas.com. They want to buy fertilizer. All you got to do is accept Bitcoin. So there you go. See, that's how it works. You got a customer there.
That's all.
Built-in customer. I know. I hear that all the time from merchants, like Roger Rivera from Memory Dealers. He's like trying to get more and more of his suppliers to accept Bitcoin, because if you can, you start with the retail operation and then you move your way back to the suppliers and their suppliers and so on, and it's just this domino effect. Then all of a sudden everybody accepts Bitcoin. So it's a whole new world there.
Yep.
Well, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time and showing us the products. And I can't wait till I'm all decked out. I want to do it. I want to do it in the future when you've got an alpaca hat and an alpaca jacket, and I'll be wearing my alpaca socks, and I'll just be ready.
Sounds good.
Ready for winter in New York. All right. Thanks so much. All right.
Thank you.
Take care.
Yep. Have a good day.
All right. And we'll see you guys same time tomorrow.
Bitcoins popped up, and at the time, I mean, it was almost nothing. It was like nobody had heard of it. Now, a few people have heard of it. Back then, it was literally nobody had heard of it. They were selling for, pennies, and I kind of dismissed the whole concept at that point for probably 6 months or so, until finally I kind of revisited it, and a couple economic news stories around the world kind of convinced me to start actually looking at alternative payment methods a little more seriously. So I started doing research on Bitcoins, and I thought to myself, how am I going to get one of these? Because frankly, at the time, I didn't trust anyone. Like if I figured I sent an envelope full of cash to buy Bitcoins, all I would lose is an envelope full of cash, and I wouldn't get anything. So I've decided to start figuring out a way to get Bitcoins in a different way. So I started thinking about what I could sell, and alpaca socks came to mind since we were already selling them.
Today's episode of the Bitcoin Show is brought to you by Mt. Gox, mtgox.com, and Bitcoin Bonus, bitcoinbonus.com, and Meze Grill, M-E-Z-E grill.com. Hello everybody and welcome to the Bitcoin Show. This is episode 46 and today we're just going to do a really fun little interview because with someone who's arguably one of the most famous people in Bitcoin, although you may have never seen his face before. He's the...
6 years ago now and started off with alpacas and been growing ever since. So.
And every great family farm has a geek in it, a tech geek, and you're the guy.
I'm the guy, yeah.
And how did you discover, I mean, so many questions. How did you discover Bitcoin?
Well, that's kind of lost to the annals of history at this point, but I don't really remember, to be honest.
Wow.
But I do know that I'm pretty sure I have an idea how I found it, and I'm pretty sure that was, I read a book called A Lodging of Wayfaring Men, and it was awesome. And I did a Google search to try to find some of these sort of anonymous digital currencies. I thought it was a cool concept. Yeah, I have as well as being a bit of a tech geek, I'm also an economics nerd, self-taught. But so the idea really intrigued me. So I started Googling for anonymous digital currencies, and Massachusetts is where the farm is located, and we have 19 alpacas currently here. It's a small family farm. I'm involved with the farm and also the Bitcoin part of it as sort of a sideshow to that efforts. Although we've gotten more publicity for the Bitcoin part of it than we ever did with our farm, the farm itself. So it's been quite a wild ride we've had here.
So when people ask which came first, the alpaca or the Bitcoin, it was clearly the alpaca.
It did. I think it beat the Bitcoin by a couple years. But
a couple years, yeah. So like what, 2007 or something like that?
We started the farm in beginning of 2005.
Okay.
We started getting ready to bring the first animals on the farm. The farm's been in the family for 5 generations, but it hadn't been used for very much in terms of active farming for 30 years. So we put it back into production. Yeah, a couple of 6
guy behind. Well, first of all, let me ask you this. If you Google Bitcoin, what comes up? Probably if you put it into Google search terms engine, it will recommend alpaca. And you're going to wonder, what the heck does Bitcoin have to do with alpaca if you're new to Bitcoin? But anybody who's an old-time Bitcoin person knows that everything to do with Bitcoin is alpaca socks. We've got the weusecoins.com is probably the most recent thing that features an alpaca. And, but actually many of the early stories were about what you can buy with a Bitcoin, or more than one Bitcoin maybe. And always what comes up is alpaca socks. And people are like, what? What does alpaca socks have to do with it? What it has to do with it is our guest today, the man behind GrassHillAlpacas.com, David Forster. Welcome, David. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you are, where are you based? Out west somewhere, I take it.
Well, no, actually, Western Massachusetts.